and today we're going to be taking a look at World War Blue. And this anime is pretty damn weird for the most part, but I will go out and say that this is actually the shortest series that I'm taking a look at in this feature. And you thought it was going to be Black Rock Shooter with only 8 episodes, well in this case, there's only 3. Yeah, 3. And by the way, this is not an OVA. This is actually like 24-minute long episodes that are just only 3 of them. And for me personally, I would at least consider this to be kind of obscure in a way. Now, not super obscure, but kind of obscure enough that I don't hear many people talk about it. And before I talk about the story, I'm just going to say that the story is very damn basic, so here it goes. So there are 2 countries at war, and they are known as Segua Kingdom and Nintendo Empire. And I'm pretty sure you can take a guess what those are referencing as. Yep, Sega and Nintendo. So it's like reimagining the console war, but within like an empire kind of thing. And I'll be quite honest, I do kind of like this idea. I think it's kind of cool. But anyways, here are the characters of the Sega Kingdom, and there they are. The main character, which is Gear, and who is supposed to reference Sonic the Hedgehog. And then there's Tile, who is supposed to represent Tails from Sonic, but he dies within the first episode. So yeah, Tails gets fucking killed. And then there's Nell, who is supposed to represent Nay from Phantasy Star 2. Then there's Opal, who's supposed to represent Fantasy Zone. And then there's Ramses, who's supposed to represent Columns. Yeah, you know that Tetris game. And then there's Tedrove, who's supposed to represent, well, Tetris. Although he is not considered as supposed to be from the Sega Kingdom, but he does help him out a lot, so yeah, he pretty much is. And from the Nintendo Empire, there's supposed to be Marcus, who's supposed to represent Mario. Luigi, I'm pretty sure you can take a guess, that's Luigi. Zelig is supposed to represent Link from Zelda. Faye, who is supposed to represent Fire Emblem. And finally, there's Carvel, who represents Kirby. So yeah, there's a war going on. And Gear's father was supposed to represent Alex Kidd, who was a very powerful warrior known as a killer. And because Gear is a descendant from him, he pretty much is a killer as well. But for the most part, Gear, Nell, and Opal are training under the Tetris guy. Yeah, it's so hard to remember most of these names because I mostly know them from the names of the game, so yeah, that's why I call him the Tetris guy. So yeah, after when they're done training under him, they end up going to a castle, or a fort, known for Bubble Bobble and Bust-A-Move. So they end up infiltrating there, and Opal ends up fighting the big giant guy who's supposed to represent Bust-A-Move, I would assume. And Gear ends up fighting his father, Alex Kidd, who happens to be trapped inside the dungeon of the fort. And apparently there's this thing that people can do called absorbing, where pretty much if you absorb someone, they pretty much die, but they like add their power to yours or something. I don't know, it's fucking weird. So he absorbs his father, then when he gets back up to see how Opal is doing, well, she's pretty much in the middle of like getting like, well, raped by one of the Bubble Bobble dudes. So he ends up saving her, and then he ends up like getting his ass kicked. And in case you're wondering what happened to the other Bubble Bobble dude, well, he pretty much got stuck inside the Tetris guy's like attack where he pretty much like surrounded him by a bunch of blocks where he couldn't get out. But he does end up surviving, so is that a good thing? Well, I guess so, considering that he wasn't being a rapist. And I know it sounds like I'm just being really lazy with this review, but seriously though, there's not really much I can go on, especially for 3 episodes. But I do find it to be kind of stupid that this show is supposed to be about Nintendo versus Sega, but yet Sega never ends up fighting Nintendo. Weird, huh? But you do see the Nintendo characters at some points though, but you don't really see them for that often. So yeah, there's a lot of issues here, but then again, the show isn't even finished, so I mean, there's really not a whole lot I would suspect to happen. But one issue I do have is that with the whole concept that this is, as cool as it is and as much as I would like it, I think they should have made this story the other way around. I mean, for one, Nintendo is still making consoles while Sega is, well, now a third-party developer that's, you know, kind of lacking in some ways. But nah, I think the people that made this show were probably really hardcore Sega fans, so they really wanted them to be like the good guys, I guess. So yeah, the story is not really the greatest thing ever. Although I've never read the mangas before, but apparently they're still ongoing, and well, I will at least say I am curious to know what they are. And also I think the other part of the issue is that if this show was longer, I think it could have been at least decent. Not amazing by any means, but at least, you know, better. A lot better. So yeah, it's just a bunch of mindless shit going on with some references to Sega and Nintendo stuff, so anyways, yeah, so let's take a look at other things like the animation. Well, the animation doesn't look bad, but it doesn't look like amazing either, but it looks alright. I mean, nothing too much I'm going to complain about, but I will say it's at least average, so not a whole lot to say about that. And as for the voice acting, well, this show is only in Japanese, meaning that you know the routine by now, that it's really hard for me to say the quality of it. But none of it irritated me in any way, so really, as again, I can't really say a whole lot about that. And as for the score, well, I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 10. It's pretty average for the most part, but I will at least say that it does have some funny moments. Especially the parts with the Tetris guy where every time he puts his stick in between his fingers like it's representing sex. It's just kind of funny. And some of the other characters can be kind of funny too, especially with the references. But I mean, other than that though, there really is not a whole lot I could say about this anime. I mean, like I said, it's not finished. And it's just kind of whatever. I don't know. For something with a concept like this, you would expect it to be, you know, like really fun and awesome and just a bunch of other shit like that. But I mean, I don't know. It does have some promise to it, but like I said, only if they finished it, it could have been a lot better. So yeah, I don't know. There's nothing else I can say about this one, so yeah, we'll just leave it as it's just okay. I've seen a lot worse animes than this though, so at least I'll be positive on that.